Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where this message finds you. I am Mark Wiest. I'm a professor of psychology here at the University of South Carolina. I also direct our school behavioral health team and the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina, which is funded and supported by our State Department of Education Office of Special Education Services. You're joining us for this Working Through Wednesday series on assisting military families. We have some very prominent presenters with us, Paul Bond, Joan Barrett, and Joanne Cashman, who are going to talk about their Leave Your Footprint series, which is a series of behavioral health guides for schools, students, and families to help promote their positive functioning in school. We're also thrilled to be collaborating with the Military Child Education Coalition under the direction of Dr. Becky Porter. This is one of the most important areas of our work, supporting military families, veterans doing great work for our country. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy this series. Best wishes.
Hi, I'm Dr. Becky Porter, the President and CEO of the Military Child Education Coalition, MCEC. Leaders Paul Bond, Joan Barrett, and Joanne Cashman are facilitating a webinar to promote a set of MCEC school behavioral health tools. This webinar is part of an amazing partnership with the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina and features BASC's Working Through It Wednesday skills-based webinar platform. MCEC is proud to have BASC as a collaborative partner who's committed to helping military-connected kids and families with school transitions. Be on the lookout for this upcoming Working Through It Wednesday webinar featuring MCEC's Leave Your Footprint series and other exciting resources for military-connected children and families.
Welcome everyone to Working Through It Wednesday with the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina. Today we are joined by a team of experts here in collaboration to discuss the Leave Your Footprint series with MCEC, the Military Child Education Coalition, that supports all military-connected children by educating, advocating, and collaborating to resolve educational challenges associated with the military lifestyle. The Leave Your Footprint series, this is a series of 3 interactive guides that addresses behavioral health issues in school-aged children. Each guide provides infographics that summarize key points and dialogue guide that encourages stakeholder conversations. These guides can be found at www.militarychild.org/behavioral health. Our presenters today are Paul Bond, Joanne Cashman, and Joan Barrett. They're here to discuss this with us. We are so thankful to have you, and at the end of the session, please complete our quick survey following this QR code or add your comments in the section of our video so that we can further provide educational opportunities for you through the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce our presenters. We have Paul, who is a lifelong educator with a focus on special education and behavioral health. He is also a 2-time retiree, first as the State Director for Special Education and Student Support, Hawaii Department of Ed, and then as the Director of Outreach, Child and Family Behavioral Health Systems, the Program Management Office of the U.S. Army Medical Command. We also have Joanne Cashman. Joanne is also a lifelong educator with deep roots in special education at the building, district, and university level. She is currently the State Technical Assistant Advisor for the National Association of State Directors of Special Education. And next, we have Joan Barrett. Joan is a secondary teacher, school counselor, and for 22 years lived as a nomadic lifestyle of a military spouse. After settling in Kansas City, Missouri, she served in a number of positions with the Military Child Education Coalition, or MCEC, retiring in July 2020. One of her greatest joys was working with Joanne and Paul in creating the Leave Your Footprint series. So without further ado, I'm going to let our team take it over. Welcome all, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi there. Before we begin, we'd like to express our heartfelt thanks to the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina, led by Dr. Mark Wiest, and to the Military Child Education Coalition, Dr. Becky Porter, President and CEO, for their tremendous support in the co-creating and hosting of this session on the Basque Working Through It Wednesdays website. Additionally, we're deeply indebted to Ms. Erin Schroeder for incredible guidance, patience, and support in the production of this session. Thank you, Erin. We couldn't have done this without you. Let's begin with a review of the objectives. Our intent is that you will understand why and how the Leaving a Footprint series were developed to help families, in particular military-connected families, successfully transition to new academic and social emotional environments when they move with children who have behavioral health challenges. Also, to understand how these tools can help parents, educators, and others engage in guided dialogue to empower parents to act on their child's behalf, and to increase your knowledge of how initiatives and resources to support military-connected youth and families can have a greater impact by joining forces. Take that first step in the proverbial journey of 1,000 miles. Walk with us. Leave a footprint. Join with us to make a difference. Let's look at how the intentional act of joining forces resulted in the co-creation of the infographics and their companion dialogue guides. Before we set the products out for display, it's important for you to know that our joint work table was supported by 4 co-equal legs. First, in order to come together at the joint work table, we needed to have an agreed upon purpose for our journey. In other words, a shared agenda, which in our case is to help military families whose children may have behavioral health concerns transition to new schools, communities, providers, friends, and so on. Second, we needed an opportunity to convene, a forum that allowed us to co-create tools with participants. We are grateful to MCEC, who believed that the work of our shared agenda fit perfectly with its annual national training seminar, purpose, and design. Third, we needed to have knowledgeable experts about how to identify, treat, manage, and support youth, particularly military-connected youth, with challenging behavioral health concerns. Our diverse panel of experts came from the United States Army Medical Command, the Department of Defense Educational Activity School System, the American Occupational Therapy Association, and the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. Fourth, we needed to have the involvement of experts knowledgeable about leading the co-creation of tools by convening stakeholders. Staff of the National Association of State Directors of Special Education provided that expertise. The co-creation work started with the MCEC National Training Seminar in 2017 with the topic of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and continued in the summer of 2019 with the focus on anxiety in young children and depression in youth. From the literature and from experience, these are the most common behavioral health challenges experienced by school-age children and youth. While we discuss each condition separately, know that for some children and youth, they may experience a combination of these challenges at the same time. Also, it is quite possible that the frequency of these challenges for all children and youth, not just military connected, have increased due to the pandemic. As illustrated in this slide, the co-creation of tools for the 3 topics in the Leaving Your Footprint series involved work at and after the conference with the expert panel, participants, and facilitators. As you can see in the pictures, the one on the left captures the typical format of listening to an expert panel and engaging in asking questions for clarification. The picture on the left shows the participants engaged in table group work to identify salient information and concepts that should be included in the infographics and dialogue guide. To finalize the infographics and dialogue guides continued after the conference with input from and review by the expert panel. For each topic, ADHD, anxiety, and depression, the infographics were co-created to identify critical and salient information that the participants believe were important to include in the above categories. The participants were given note-taking sheets with the 3 categories listed. The note-taking sheets served as an organizer to help them jot down what they heard during the expert panel presentation as potentially important information to include in the infographics. The following slide will show how the infographics are organized according to the 3 foci. For the presentation, we are using anxiety in young children as the example of the co-created infographics and dialogue guides. While not displayed, know that each topic includes a list of additional tools and resources, such as recommended books for parents. Here is an example of the components for defining, identifying, and diagnosing anxiety in young children. What is anxiety? What are the signs? How common is it? What goes into the diagnosis? And are there particular issues related to the military lifestyle? Here are the salient recommendations and considerations for treating and managing anxiety. For example, cognitive behavior therapy is identified as the most appropriate treatment, and a summary of the CBT model is presented. Also presented are information to consider when medication is recommended. Lastly, the infographic summarizes how all stakeholders, all families, including military families and schools, can provide needed support to the child or to find help through other resources. Now I'll turn it over to Joanne, who will take us through connecting the infographics with its corresponding dialogue guides. Joanne?
Thank you, Paul. So we're really glad to be here with you today and to share this process that we undertook with MCEC to really help people to focus on sharing information, which could sometimes be very dense, very challenging, in a simple way that will allow them to use it in the networks that they experience in their own lives. So this slide introduces us to those 2 important tools to help us move from information to understanding and action, infographics and dialogue guides. Even more importantly, this slide highlights the process that enables both of those, and that is co-creation. Co-creation is the art of developing content with the stakeholders that you want to influence. Co-creation enables you to understand what they know, to make logical connections to new understandings, and to work together to present content in ways that make sense with the lives of the person who need that information the most. Infographics are highly visual tools that allow you to present complex information simply. They allow us to move beyond text and write core content simply by using colorful visuals. And when we use those colorful visuals in simple language, the information has more appeal, more sticking power. Because they're much less intimidating than a text document, stakeholders are more comfortable sharing them and using them to explain issues within their own networks. Dialogue guides are tools that bridge expert content and practical application. Dialogue guides are most effective when they're co-created with the stakeholders who represent the groups who have their own perspective on these issues. They're grounded in expert content, but shape the conversation to focus on the realities of practice, the realities of lived experience. Through dialogue, we learn that issues that we know may be experienced differently by those that live or work in another setting. Together, co-created infographics and dialogue guides allow us to truly engage stakeholders and make it more likely that they will find common ground and be able to move forward together. So what's so different about dialogue? This chart describes ways in which we express our ideas in conversation. Debate focuses on persuading others. In debate, we make our point and we defend it. Discussion is softer than debate, but again, we are stating our ideas and we're reiterating them through conversation. Dialogue is not about making a point. It's about sharing a perspective. In dialogue, we want to listen and learn as much as we want to share. In dialogue, we think about what others share and share our insights, reactions, and new appreciations for the perspectives that we cannot know from our own experience. Because dialogue is a learning process, dialogue is much more likely to lead us to action. If sharing an action is appealing to you, you might want to try to co-create dialogue. Because a variety of perspectives is valuable, you might want to bring individuals together who have varied perspectives on a common issue. The issue serves to draw the individuals, and your facilitation brings them together. You are coalescing them around an issue. Coalescing is a skill that you can acquire with intent and practice. As a facilitator, you can help the stakeholders share why the issue is important to them, why working together on the issue has value for their work and their life. Working together on two specific kinds of questions helps you to co-create a dialogue guide. The first of those questions is a reaction question. Reaction questions are big picture questions. They're intended to help people convey what they know and what they feel. Application questions help potential partners see what they have in common and what they might do together on an issue. In co-creating questions, imagine the situation where they might be used. Often, only one or two questions are chosen for a dialogue session. Given this understanding, we want to create a variety of questions from which a facilitator can choose to match the group and in makeup and in their interests. Reaction questions, again, are the big picture questions. They are the first steps into sharing. Reaction questions let people express why something is important to them. Listening to others during reaction questions opens the participants to new insights, new realities, and has the potential to move them closer to deeper meaning and maybe even some work together. Let's look at the example co-created by the array of stakeholders after the expert panel that Paul discussed. The first reaction question allows the participants an easy way to share something that is personal and might be difficult to express in another setting. The questions 2 and 3 draw on information presented, but speak to a shared personal experiences too. Question 4 asks for some insights on what it might take to put a team together to meet the recommendations. Application questions bring people together around what needs to be done. Application questions are a good follow-up to the comfort level that develops with reaction questions. Application questions should always help the participants to realize that they know something that has value and can be shared. Application questions help people to see what they may do individually or together. Look at this example from the same expert panel at the MCEC conference. These application questions place the individual in a setting where they may make a difference. Let's take a look. Question 1 asks them to project how their work might contribute to better understanding. Question 2 asks them to think about the issue from another point of view. And question 3 asks them to imagine a future together.
Paul and Joanne have described a set of tools that were created for families and other caring adults whose children are challenged by ADHD, anxiety, or depression. These tools were designed to simplify those complex behavioral health issues and to encourage and guide helpful dialogue among those who truly care about these issues. In other words, they were designed to allow parents and professionals to leave a footprint in their communities in the form of shared documents, connections, resources, and action plans. Our goal with this webinar is to leave you with two different takeaways. The first, of course, is the use of the product, the 3 Leaving Your Footprint co-created behavioral health guides that Paul and Joanne have already shared with you. But the second is the discovery of the value in co-creating your own infographics and dialogue guides around topics that are of interest or concern to you and your team. First, let's talk about the use of the guides. Who might use them? Picture a group of parents who all share the same concerns and questions about the struggles they've experienced in diagnosing, treating, and educating a child with ADHD, anxiety, or depression. Or consider the value of these infographics and accompanying dialogue guides to be used during your staff professional development training. And for those of you who are military connected, what about an EFMP, that is Exceptional Family Member Program, group meeting? These could all be ideal opportunities to have tea, talk, engage, and act, using one of these guides to focus the conversation and create the kind of true dialogue that Joanne referenced. Admittedly, these guides were written with military-connected children in mind. Mobility and transition are key factors in a military child's life, from school to school, state to state, and often overseas and back. But military mobility is not the only type of transition we had in mind. All the natural academic transitions, including grade level and graduation transitions, are perfect opportunities to have tea. The choice of the title, Leaving Your Footprint, was spurred by the idea that individuals can bring others together in one community, keep resources in place, and create smooth transitions to a new community, leaving behind significant impact for all those families who are involved. As Paul and Joanne shared the process of creating these infographics and dialogue guides with you, we hope that your imagination was sparked and that you were able to see how you might co-create products helpful to you and your colleagues. Think about complex topics with multiple perspectives, topics like academic transitions, youth leadership, or even other behavioral health issues. Now, consider not only the value of the creation process, but also the impact of a stakeholder-created product for all those who are involved. As we conclude today's webinar, We want to be sure that you know where to find the Leaving Your Footprint series of behavioral health guides. They can be found on the MCEC, that is Military Child Education Coalition website. It's an easy one to remember, www.militarychild.org /behavioral health. Thank you for your time today, for your commitment to all of our children, and for your interest in leaving your footprint behind for all those who follow.
Thank you, Paul, Joanne, and Joan. That was informative and resourceful. We greatly appreciate you and your time and enjoyed the acronym, Let's Have Tea. I hope we all have more tea after this. That was perfect. Thank you all again from the Behavioral Alliance of South Carolina. This has been Working Through It Wednesday. Please complete our survey or leave your comments in the comment section below. Have a wonderful Wednesday.
Thank you.